I told you we wouldn't play.
Back up.
Now at 10, I-94 becomes a parking lot. Protesters shut down the freeway as they demand justice in the officer-involved shooting of a Minneapolis man.
The radar quiet for now, but all eyes off to the south and west. This is your commute weather. Rain and even a few thunderstorms coming back in tomorrow morning. I'll have all the details.
And in the extra, what will it take to get you to drive phone-free?
The information's not that important. It can wait, to borrow the phrase.
We stop! We fight all night long! Say what?
We're watching developing news out of Minneapolis tonight, where protesters shut down I-94 for more than 2 hours. MnDOT cameras show northbound traffic came to a standstill before state troopers showed up to direct traffic and also to make arrests. The demonstrators want answers behind the officer-involved shooting of a Minneapolis man. Within the past 15 minutes, family members of Jamar Clark confirmed he has been taken off life support. Boyd Hoopert is live now with an update. Boyd?
Julie, the the westbound lanes of I-94 north of downtown Minneapolis remain closed, but it appears police are getting ready to reopen the freeway. A massive show of police force here tonight, at least in numbers, but also police patience on display. The freeway was shut down just before 7 o'clock tonight when several dozen protesters made their way onto I-94, blocking traffic. The state patrol showed up. They talked to protesters for a fairly lengthy time, trying to convince them to move. They did not. The warning was then put out that arrests would commence. Some protesters scattered as police moved in. Others stood their ground and were arrested. We're just receiving some numbers from the Minnesota State Patrol. 43 adults arrested, 8 juveniles arrested, at least 1 state trooper punched by a protester. We spoke with motorists who were waiting. We spoke to onlookers alongside the freeway fence, both taking sides.
I think it's great. They should go close down many more freeways and bring Minneapolis police out here.
I thought there was a terrible accident. I thought there was, somebody's life in jeopardy. I don't know. It's just ridiculous.
Protesters that were arrested were charged with unlawful assembly and pedestrians on a freeway. Both are misdemeanors. Again, several dozen people arrested. A city bus was brought in to take them away. Police have just finished that procedure. At one point, they had to remove those cars from the freeway, and they had to move down a steep embankment to get off the freeway and onto a ramp. At least one of those cars became stuck in the mud. During that process, police conducted a very orderly procedure. During those arrests, protesters were hauled off one by one, cuffed, then taken to that waiting bus. That process is now complete. The last of the squad cars moved off of the freeway within just the past few minutes. It appears that the freeway is going to be opened again soon.
All right. Thank you so much, Boyd. We appreciate it. We do have team coverage on this story. Protesters are also occupying the 4th Precinct Police Station. The makeshift camp is already well into its second night. Protesters want 3 demands met. Mayor Betsy Hodges granted one of them today when she asked the U.S. Attorney's Office to review the case. But demonstrators also want video of the shooting made public and the officers involved fired. Jay Olstead joins us with more. Jay?
Yeah, Julie, that occupation outside here of 4th Precinct continues tonight. They say they are going to stay out here until their demands are met.
Justice! Yeah!
Another night, similar demands from the protesters with the Black Lives Matter Minneapolis movement.
Our tax dollars make this building exist, so the community answered our call and they're here.
Protesters have vowed to stay outside at the 4th Precinct until investigators release any surveillance video of the incident to the public and the identities of the 2 officers connected to the police shooting of 24-year-old Jamar Clark are released. So far, neither has happened.
I am asking the Civil Rights Division and the United States Attorney's Office to review this matter.
But as of today, their 3rd demand has been met. The mayor officially asked the U.S. Department of Justice to investigate.
I've asked for this because we need all the tools we have available to us. I've spoken to Governor Dayton, who agrees.
Meantime, as protesters burn the American flag outside the 4th Precinct tonight, they're demanding city leaders do more as day 2 of their occupation continue.
We're saying that silence is violence.
Now, the police chief confirmed today that 2 squad cars were vandalized here last night. She said that the person connected to that has been arrested and charged. We don't know, though, if that person is connected to this movement. Julie.
All right. Thank you, Jay. The Justice for Jamar hashtag is gaining traction on Twitter. We will be following the updates as they happen. You can find the latest on Sunrise tomorrow morning and, of course, always online at KARE11.com. In other news tonight, our continuing investigation into the Jacob Wetterling case. Tonight, we hear from 2 more victims of the assaults in Paynesville 27 years ago. Carla Holt has their reaction to the unsolved cases and the recent arrest of a person of interest in Jacob's disappearance.
In towns like Paynesville, friendships form fast.
Known each other since kindergarten, probably.
Troy Cole and Mark Stern may be friends in their 40s today, but it wasn't long ago they were 2 boys biking downtown.
I never seen him, and I never heard him until he yanked me off my bike.
Trying to beat curfew a block from his home in November 1986, a man in dark clothing attacked the 13-year-old Troy.
From there, he grabbed me and dragged me into the pine trees.
Threatening with a knife, the man molested Troy and then took his token.
After that, he took my stocking cap and cut a chunk of my hair off.
That night, Troy and his parents filed a police report. He says it would be 27 years before he'd hear from police again.
Watch out for Chester the molester.
September 1987, Mark was coming home after dark.
And I heard somebody bump into these aluminum lawn chairs we had up there. So I took off and started running.
That's when Mark caught a glimpse of his would-be attacker. A figure that still haunts him today.
You know, you can see I'm shaking. It just brings the fear right back.
Mark, too, made an initial police report, and the investigation mostly stopped there.
And why didn't they do that years ago? I mean, they abandoned us. If they're not out there to protect us, who is?
Over the years, the men drew their own conclusions. They believe Danny Heinrich played a part. They wonder whether he really acted alone.
I think Dwayne Hart had something to do with it.
Dwayne Hart, arrested in 1990 for preying on children, later diagnosed a pedophile with psychopathic disorder, a person who called Paynesville home and Heinrich a friend.
They always drove around in the car together. They lived in the Plaza apartments together.
But today, with darkness or silence, fear, even among friends, can quickly return.
When you step outside at night, that's the first thing that comes in your head, is you're looking around.
Just the fear is always there.
I talked to several other Paynesville victims, some now out of state, some still finding it too difficult to reflect on what happened. Mark and Troy have found strength in sharing their stories. They are also hoping it will help others in their town to talk as well and bring answers for the Wetterling family. Julie?
All right, thanks, Carla. Tonight, Paris is under the illuminated colors of its flag as the investigation into Friday's terror attacks continues. France's ambassador to the United States says authorities have yet to identify 15 of the victims. The manhunt for one of the named suspects is still underway. Police had questioned him on Friday but released him. And new tonight, the Senate passed a resolution pledging to stand in solidarity with France after ISIS released new video today threatening the U.S. The resolution comes as governors from more than 20 states, including Wisconsin, took a stand saying they would not allow any Syrian refugees to settle in their state. Still ahead at 10, a heavy-hitting twin star in the running for Rookie of the Year. Later in sports, see where Miguel Sano landed in this year's vote. Plus, we are looking at a foggy and rainy night. Here's Belle with the first look.
That's right, Julie. We have a little bit of a break right now, but rain off to our south and west. Let's take a look at it. We'll be moving in overnight. So you woke up to thunder this morning. You'll wake up to thunder again tomorrow morning as this system rolls in. The weather timeline for tomorrow: heavy rain to start your day out, a little bit of a break, and then rain returning after dark. We'll have the forecast through the weekend coming up in a couple of minutes.
And next in the Extra, why we cannot seem to get the message about texting and driving.
Nobody wants to be on either end of this.
It truly has to come down to a personal choice that people make not to conduct this kind of behavior.
Texting and driving. It is something Minnesota State Troopers say they cannot enforce their way out of, and state lawmakers can't legislate their way out of. It really does come down to a choice. Choice to turn off your phone or put it away out of sight when you're behind the wheel. Distracted driving contributes to 60 deaths in Minnesota every year and nearly 8,000 injuries. And while it is illegal, drivers are not receiving the message. It's our hope with this story you're about to see, you will make the choice to drive phone-free. Here's KARE 11's Lindsay Sievert.
How did we get here?
Looking down continuously.
Lured when we know we shouldn't.
You were looking at your phone, sir. What were you doing?
If you're not yet paying attention,
there isn't a day.
Think of an Oakdale family fraught over a message still not received.
The pain, it's still there, and I think it always will be.
2 years ago, the high stakes of texting and driving came as close as the Riggs family driveway.
I knew something bad had happened, and it was in front of my house, and you get that feeling.
The sight of a scooter smashed under a car made a father a first responder.
I started doing the vitals and talking to David and holding him, and the things a dad would say to his son.
David Riggs, just 20, was about to head back to college.
David was full of life.
Those dreams lost just outside his front door.
I saw this kid just crying, and he just kept telling me, "I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention."
The 18-year-old driver told police he looked down at an incoming text when he rear-ended David, who was riding his scooter.
And it wasn't too many hours later that the doctor said, he's not going to make it.
In Eden Prairie, VJ Dixit knows, too, about what can be lost in a second. His soon-to-be-published book confronts the problem after his daughter Shreya died in a crash, the passenger of a distracted driver.
Extremely jovial, very fun-loving.
A foundation carrying her name closely focuses on educating students about distraction-free driving.
It has become literally my religion. I follow it, I preach it like a priest.
Another tribute to his daughter. Through the courts, Dixit counsels drivers convicted in tragic texting accidents.
This is something that maybe was the destiny.
And now up close.
Now he's typing.
He understands the disconnect in a driver's brain.
Not watching the road.
Officers struggling to enforce the epidemic learn science could be partially to blame.
You are in a bad relationship with your phone.
At a recent Minnesota traffic safety conference, New York Times reporter Matt Richtel revealed his Pulitzer Prize-winning work on why people text and drive when they know it's dangerous.
Richtel's interviews with top neuroscientists show dopamine, the same chemical triggered by food, sex, and drugs, hijacks parts of the brain involved in focus and overrides our attention behind the wheel. That biological boost keeps us yearning for more information, even when it's irrelevant or unsafe, something he calls the slot machine phenomenon.
For years, scientists could see rats pressing on the lever because they didn't know when the food was going to come. And they pressed and they pressed and they pressed and they pressed. We press that button on the phone because we never know when the good stuff's going to come. So it acts to some extent like a slot machine.
Understanding that compulsion leads to more control. Richtel's conditioned his brain to ignore those pings.
The information's not that important. It can wait.
The perspective drives VJ Dixit.
I feel that you are a much more responsible person.
As he finishes a year counseling 20-year-old Michael Vang.
Because of that stupid decision that I made. I drive past it every day.
Michael is the driver who looked down to read a text.
He was a guy of character.
The 3-second decision that killed David Riggs, the promising college student.
It was irresponsible. It was immature. Again, it was very selfish of me.
Michael and David Riggs attended the same high school.
When I look at it,
Michael often visits David's memorial to learn more about the man who lived by the motto, keep on moving.
When I pray to him, I always start off by asking how he's doing. I always apologize to him. Sometimes I break down. I just think about him, and I wish he was here sitting with me, and sometimes I do feel like he's sitting here with me.
Michael knows he must take one more step.
I should have took that responsibility to do it a long time ago.
To ever move forward himself.
I don't expect forgiveness from them, but I want to be part of their family and just to say sorry to them.
Nobody wants to be on either end of this.
Peggy and Craig Riggs recently opened this letter from Michael Vang. They asked a judge spare him from jail, yet his apology details a personal prison.
And I appreciate that he thinks about David every day. I want him to, because I think it's going to make him a better person. And I think the most important thing is that we can forgive him, but I think he needs to forgive himself.
If this doesn't steer you from that next dangerous text,
and I know that's what David would want,
consider the only message the Riggs have left.
Maybe you'd say put the phones down for the moms and dads out there.
And it really can be that simple. Texting and driving is illegal, even when stopped at a red light, and yet many of us still do it, even when studies show this is equivalent to driving drunk. There are many apps out there to help prevent this temptation, but really what we discovered, this is not a technology issue. This is really a human problem. Thousands of you out there have accepted our challenge here at KARE 11 to drive phone-free, sharing a post on our Facebook page. And Julie, our hope is really that you follow through with this. It's really changed my habits reporting on this.
Well, I think that, Peggy, that was so profound. Nobody wants to be on either side.
I know.
And the fact that it's in a matter of seconds, we all know it logically, but you just think it's never going to happen when you're driving. I took that challenge today, and I was
I'm so glad.
driving back to the station after dinner. It's a compulsion to reach for it just to call people. It's when you think, oh, I need to call that person back.
Right.
I mean, it's just so easy to do. So interesting studies on the brain, too.
No, absolutely. And a lot of people put it in their cup holder or in their lap, but we're really saying put in your glove box, out of reach. And one tech expert told me tonight, turn it on airplane mode. That's just such an easy thing you can do. So really, it makes you think twice. This story has really made me think twice about reaching for my phone in the car.
Excellent, excellent reminder.
Julie.
Thank you, Lindsay. Let's head outside now to Belinda for a look at our forecast. Hey, Belle.
Well, Julie, you know, and the other thing to think about is with the weather turning, by the end of the week, we're going to be colder, and before long, we're going to see snow. Not tonight, though. We actually could hear thunder in the morning. This will be the third time in the last week that we've heard thunder, which is very rare in November. It only happens around 3% of Novembers that we actually have thunder, but we have very warm air, very unstable air. We have tornadoes in the panhandle of Oklahoma tonight. We're not going to have severe weather, but all of this is moving toward us, and the temperature right now is sitting at 49 degrees, so that's what's coming in. It feels like 43. We'll hold at 49 all night long. We have that southeast wind out ahead of the system, keeping us very mild all evening. And speaking of mild, I thought you might like to see this. November so far, every single day except for the 6th, Friday the 6th, has been above normal. So right now, it is one of the warmest Novembers on record. We'll see what happens as we dip down into the 30s this upcoming weekend. 54 was the high today, 54 in Wilmer, 53 in Marshall. Now let's look at the timing. Tomorrow morning, it looks as though that band of heavy thunderstorm activity in Nebraska will basically be right over us. So 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, a lot like this morning, we might hear a clap of thunder and it will be downpouring. Then as we get to lunchtime, the rain is still happening. By the time we get to the evening commute, it looks like the rain will mainly be to the west of the Twin Cities. St. Cloud will be dealing with it, Wilmer, Brainerd at 6 p.m. Tuesday. So when does it move out? Here is overnight Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Looks a little quieter Wednesday morning, and this is the back edge of the rain right here. You see it mixing into snow in the Brainerd Lakes area and every area north of there. This is 6 p.m. Wednesday night. That's when the final wave will come through and move out of the area, and then we clear out overnight Wednesday night. So here is your Tuesday. We started around 49 or 50. It's raining heavily in the morning. We have a bit of a break, and then we have more rain coming in after the evening commute. We'll top out at 54 degrees. So the 7-day forecast, 54 tomorrow, and then as we get into Wednesday, we'll still have that rain around in 48. So how much rain could we get? This is what the models are looking at for the next 48 hours, possibly another inch. And we had just under 0.2 of an inch today. So possibly 1.2 inches before it's all said and done from this precipitation, which, by the way, if you're a snow lover out there, yes, it would be nearly 10 inches of snow. Some folks going, yay, other folks going, ah. So here we go. 38 on Thursday, mainly dry. Friday, maybe a flurry or two with a little bit of leftover moisture, and we chill down to 22 in the morning. Everything freezes up. 35 in the afternoon. Now, the bank will be busy this weekend with the Gophers and the Vikings, and it looks as though we're going to be chilly for the first time, below average for a weekend for the first time in a long time. 34 and 38 with a few flurries as those Vikings take on the Packers. And we'll be back in a few minutes with more sports with Perk.
KARE 11 Sports from the Mayo Clinic Sports Medicine Sports Desk.
Miguel Sano played some big-time games for the Twins, but apparently not enough. The rookie slugger finishes third in the voting for American League Rookie of the Year. Astros shortstop Carlos Correa wins the honor. Fellow Twin Eddie Rosario did finish sixth. Last month in Scotland at the Gymnastics World Championships, Team USA blew the doors off the competition, winning gold. And a local gymnast was the only American on that team, tabbed by legendary coach Bella Caroli, to compete in all 4 events. Dave Schwartz has more now on Maggie Nichols.
At 18 years old, Maggie Nichols has traveled all over the world for gymnastics meets. Just don't ask her to drive to the airport.
I just haven't had the time to take the driver's ed classes because whenever they were, I would be at practice.
But that is about all that Maggie does, practice. If she's not swinging, vaulting, or dancing in this chalky air-filled gym, she's attempting to live the life of a normal teenager, which is the only thing that comes difficult to her.
She is not going down the same path a regular high school kid goes down. She's missing out on all the regular stuff that you do in high school.
She's also doing a lot of things normal high schoolers wouldn't dream of, like trying to make the U.S. Olympic gymnastics team for the 2016 games in Rio. And she has a pretty good chance.
She's consistently over the course of this year put up scores that have been amongst the top 5 or 10 in the world.
But the chiseled, technically perfect teenager you see here wasn't always that way.
She was kind of that person who was always there but never there. So she kind of just slowly worked herself into the program and just kind of snuck her way in.
Now that she's in, simply put, Maggie Nichols won't allow herself out. She's competed against older gymnasts, dealt with injuries, and handled the pressure of the biggest stages.
It's just gymnastics, and just have fun with it and do what you do in the gym and just have fun at the competition and just show off your routines as best as you can.
She's always rose in competition. She loves performing. She loves being out there and showing off.
The Olympic team isn't announced until June. In the meantime, the only job Maggie takes quite as serious as gymnastics is being a role model. Get out. One look around the Twisters gym in Champlin and you'll see signs supporting Maggie everywhere. Every young gymnast in here wants to be just like her.
I just want to be a great role model for them and show them that hard work does pay off.
She's that type of kid where not only is she a great athlete, but she's a great kid.
With a desire, like so many in this room, to become an Olympic great.
It's just a huge honor if you make that team or even Olympic trials. It's just a huge honor representing Team USA.
So excited to see all this unfold. That was Dave Schwartz's story. KARE 11 News back after this.
We have an update now for you on our top story tonight. The Minnesota State Patrol tells us the northbound lanes of I-95 are open again after protesters shut down the highway earlier tonight. The protesters are calling for justice for Jamar Clark. Clark's family tells us tonight he was taken off life support after being shot by Minneapolis police during an assault call on Saturday. We will have updates tomorrow morning on KARE 11 Sunrise, starting at 4:30 a.m. Thanks for watching.